Test 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Test 1 2 1 2 3.
That line can and should get blurrier as we descend to the
Two. It's 9 o'clock. Oh, look at that. I got to fix
The
that
wide shot.
This is what happens, and I don't want to point fingers, but this is what happens when Tony P sits down at the last minute.
Oh,
he's still riding that high. Riding that high from last night's high heel race where he absolutely crushed it.
It's a great tie-in, by the way, my friend.
Not only did he crush it, but the crowd went crazy when Tony P showed up.
I am just honored, first of all, that I got the chance. Thank you for having me go out there last night. It was an honor to be there. And I'll tell you, first of all, I have been waiting years to do that type of thing, have that mic in my hand. I never had the mic in my hand with the label and the jacket and the camera in front of me. I have watched some of my idols do that in Boston and DC and at this network do it. And to be able to be a part of that and be on the ground interviewing, learning that skill, it's truly an honor and a privilege, and I'm just grateful for the whole team for what they put together, and from the photography team last night to everybody in the studio. Thank you for making it so smooth. And I loved it. I loved
everyone for watching. Yes. If you're wondering who's sitting behind me, that's Aida Abbas. She is training tonight on the 9 o'clock. Don't be weirded out. But if you are just joining us, we are streaming on Fox Local. We are streaming on Fox 5 DC's YouTube page. This is the Live Zone Primetime. I'm producer Chris. This is Tony P. And if it's live, if it's happening over the course of the next 60 minutes, we will bring it to you. And right now, what's happening is Vice President J.D. Vance is live at a Turning Point USA event. This is in Mississippi, Oxford, Mississippi. He's taking questions, so we're going to listen in for just a little bit.
The military into Washington, D.C. and a few other cities that I can't think of off the top of my head, which first off, they've had wonderful results. Like no one can deny the results of that. It's wonderful. Some might even say the greatest. I'm a comedian.
I like this guy. Who is this guy?
Thank you, JD. I like you too.
Now he's gonna ask the question about all the shit that we did wrong, but that's okay. Go ahead and ask your question.
But yeah, I'm just wondering, well, it's not necessarily something you did wrong, but it's what could someone else do wrong? Let's say we get a complete tyrant in office, and let's say Turning Point USA is having a huge protest against, something really bad that we don't like, and let's say he's, a president is saying that it's getting violent. How can we, I'm trying to think, my mind's kind of blank. What is the difference between what you're doing and how could we prevent someone from abusing that power?
Yeah, so look, I understand where the question is coming from, and I think it's a fair question. And it's going to sound like I'm being sarcastic, and it really is not meant in any offense. But when you talk about what could another administration do, to take a wild, hypothetical example totally off the top of my head, what if Joe Biden sent the Federal Bureau of Investigation to start arresting his political opponents? Okay? So here's something that I want every conservative to remember. It's an important part of my entire political philosophy is we cannot be afraid to do something because the left might do it in the future. The left is already going to do it regardless of whether we do it. That is the takeaway of the last 40 years. And in particular, if you look at what we're doing, if Joe Biden wanted to deploy the National Guard to a red state in a place where the murder rate was twice what it is in third world countries to actually go after murderers, that would be a great use of the National Guard. Unfortunately, I don't think Joe Biden would use it like that. What I'm worried about, frankly, is what the far left already did with American law enforcement, and that is the thing that we have to prevent against. And the answer to that question is you make sure the people who did it face penalties for using the federal power against American citizens. And by the way, that's exactly what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you, JD. Honor to meet you, man.
Good to meet you too, man.
This will be the last question.
Ricky Bobby, 2048. That's who I'm voting for. This is the last. Oh, wow. We've been here over an hour. That's amazing. Okay, I'm sorry. Those of you who didn't get to answer a question, I tried to be as quick as I could. Go ahead.
Mr. Vice President, I'm humbled and honored to be here. Recently, President Trump endorsed a candidate to run against Republican Representative Thomas Massie, who has opposed and criticized some of the Trump administration's aims. How would you address those who fear that principled disagreement or independent thinking is discouraged within the party because of how it can be framed as a betrayal instead of as internal accountability or an opportunity for debate and negotiation?
So it's a very good question. And let me say, this one is hard for me. And the reason it's hard for me is because Thomas Massie and he's one of the first people that ever reached out to me about my book or about political office. I've known Thomas Massie well before I ever got involved in politics. Thomas's wife died maybe it was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. It was a little while ago. She died very unexpectedly, was a very sweet and kind woman, and I was probably one of the first people that called Thomas to offer my condolences. I think the problem with Thomas, and I've told him this in private, and now I guess I'll say it in public, is it's one thing to disagree with the party on a particular issue. It's one thing to have your independent stand on a number of questions. And by the way, some of the stuff where Thomas Massie has been independent against the Republican Party, I've agreed with him with. Thomas and I worked together during 2023 where I was trying to stop the limitless flow of American money to Ukraine, and Thomas was one of the people I was working closest with it. But that's one thing. Being independent, having your own opinions is one thing. Voting against the party on every single issue, you're eventually going to make too many enemies. And that is the problem that Thomas has had. It's not one issue, it's not 3 or 4 issues. It's that every time that we've needed Thomas for a vote, he has been completely unwilling to provide it. That is why the President of the United States has trained his ire on Thomas Massie. It's because we can never count on him for some of the most difficult votes. I wish that weren't the case. I say that as somebody who's known Thomas well before I got into politics, but politics is politics, and when you always vote against the party, you can't expect the party to actually back you. That's the reality. So, Let me say just a couple of final things before I hit the road here. And one, it has been such an amazing honor to be with all of you this evening. I want to say two things. Number one, when I was back in my agnostic days and I was thinking about returning to my faith, I remember talking to a friend of mine and actually talking about, a number of things. And he said something to me that was really interesting. And I was talking about all the things that were going wrong. I was looking to the future. I was talking about everything that was broken in the world. And I said to him, things are just really, really dark. And he stopped me in my tracks. He said, JD, you're right. There are a lot of things that are really dark out there, but despair is a sin. Now, I know not all of you are Christians, but for the Christians out there, I think that it is very important to remember that despair is actually a sin. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to criticize. It's okay to think that things aren't going well with a particular issue, but we are called to never give up hope. But I think one of the critical lessons of Charlie Kirk's life to his dying breath, this was a man who never lost hope in his Creator and never lost hope in the United States of America. So let's remember that and carry that forward as a way to remember. And the second thing that I want to say is, in line with despair being a sin, look, I imagine that I can tell most of you apparently agree with a lot of what I said. I'm sure that a lot of you disagree with some of the things that I've said. That's okay. We don't need in our political movement people who agree with us on every single issue. We got a couple of questions about Israel. We got a couple of questions about the National Guard deployments. We don't need somebody who agrees with us on every single question or every single issue. What we need is people of good faith who love the United States of America and are willing to work hard to save it. So when you look at all the accomplishments, of the last 9 months, we inherited the worst border crisis in the history of the United States of America. We shut down the border, and net immigration is 2.5 million lower today than it was in 9 months. That means the total number of people that have been sent out of this country is 2.5 million. We have 2.5 million fewer illegal immigrants than we had. That's a great accomplishment. We inherited a terrible affordability crisis from Joe Biden, and I'm not going to tell you everything's perfect because it was a real bad situation that we inherited, but inflation is consistently below economists' expectations, and we are chipping away at it every single day. We inherited an economy where we had the largest trade deficit in the history of the United States of America. In 9 months, Donald Trump's tariff policies have cut the American trade deficit by over half. That means we're making more of our own stuff, and we're actually employing American workers to do it. And all that is to say that very often, Charlie Kirk would call me and he would say, not attaboy, but he would say, do more, do more, do more. And I listened to Charlie because he was a dear friend and because I knew that he loved this country. My point is, the best way in your life to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy, it's not to despair, but to hope in the future of this country. If you disagree with something, then get involved in the movement to save this country. If you think that we could be doing more, then pick up the phone and get involved in the effort to change our minds and change the future of the United States of America in the process. My friends, the rebels of Ole Miss, despair is a sin. Do not give in to despair. Let's keep fighting to save the United States of America. Thank you and God bless you.
All right, you've been listening to Vice President J.D. Vance speaking at a Turning Point USA rally in Oxford, Mississippi, taking questions from the crowd, Tony P.
I'll tell you, the first thing I noticed is, at the end there, we had a couple of final points, and you can just tell the relationship that he had with Charlie Kirk. I mean, they were very, very close. In a lot of ways, it was him and Tucker Carlson and, of course, Don Jr. that were one of the major influences to get Donald Trump to select him as the vice president with only about a year and a half of experience in the Senate. So there's a lot of a pretty deep connection from the vice president to the Charlie Kirk movement, Turning Point USA, what I would call the younger iteration of the base of the Republican Party. Because the big question is, what does the MAGA movement look like post Donald Trump? And again, there's all this stuff about the third term and the 2028 stuff, but in a lot of ways, it's a troll. And again, if you hear behind the scenes, a lot of reporting's been done on this, where Donald Trump is just floating it out there just so he can keep relevance beyond the midterms. But someone's going to have to pick that up, and it looks like J.D. Vance is doing that with speeches just like this, not only paying tribute to his friend Charlie Kirk, but also starting to build what his campaign strategy looks like. He's going for the younger MAGA base. He wants to expand it and nurture it, not just take it over from Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's right. And as this show is called, the Live Zone Primetime, as things are happening live, we take you to them. And at the exact same time we were watching the vice president speak, we also saw this car chase underway. This is a robbery suspect pursuit happening in Los Angeles, California. We are going to keep an eye on that in the meantime as well. But we do want to move on to our other big story as well, Tony P. And that, of course, tonight is once again, let me see where we are here. Once again, that is the government shutdown. What day are we on now? 29. Day 29, okay?
Oh, I mean, this is worse than Groundhog Day.
That's right.
It's almost like I can't find new insights every day. It's almost like just kind of going around the edges, trying to find any developments. I'll be looking at news articles, trying to find something to latch on to. Okay, we're getting closer to development. No, it's just iterations of a potential development. It just keeps on. It's avoiding me.
The clock ticking, obviously, tonight for hundreds of thousands of people in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia who rely on federal food assistance. That is because there's still no deal, obviously. Like we said, the deadline looming on those SNAP benefits this weekend. No deal by Friday. The Supplemental Food Assistance Program will shut down. 42 million Americans rely on that program. They would not get the money they need sent to the cards they use to pay for food. Here in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, 279,000 people rely on SNAP. So far, the Agriculture Department refusing to tap into $6 billion in emergency funds. Democrats say this is illegal. House Republican Speaker Mike Johnson says Democrats are to blame for not voting to reopen the government. We know this has been going back and forth repeatedly. Maryland's Democrat Attorney General Anthony Brown, one of the 22 suing the Trump administration to keep SNAP going, but he says time is running out. Local food assistance organizations like the Capital Area Food Bank and the Manna Food Center say they are preparing for what could be a tidal wave of food needs, Tony.
Absolutely. And again, not just that, but with the federal workers, and they have, their food needs. We're seeing with Capital Area Food Bank. We've also seen it today with World Central Kitchen. I was walking by the Navy Archives near my house, and there was a pretty sizable line for federal workers getting, food assistance at this time. So you add that with a potential onslaught of, over 250,000 people here in the D.C. region for food benefits from SNAP. That's a weekly thing. That could be a daily thing. So how do you handle that influx is really the question. And that $6 billion, that's going to be a big legal sticking point because, the Department of Agriculture, or USDA, there we go. I'm looking at the right acronym, not DOA. They're saying, well, this is more for emergency infrastructure funds or things with different programs outside of SNAP, and that's not what the emergency funds are for. And then Democrats are saying, hey, this is money that you need to tap into right now. The big question is, again, it's credit card type payments. So people go and they get their stuff denied. That's going to be a major impact right at that moment. And it's all about tangible impacts.
Yeah.
And now as we keep going week after week, it's getting more tangible for people. You're starting to see, we saw the other night with the Federal Employee Workers Union is saying, hey, might be time to pass a clean CR. Does this mean a break in the Democratic coalition? Or does this mean that the blame gets shifted even further to Republicans? We're going to see what these things happen with SNAP, with federal workers and their unions. What do these tectonic shifts mean?
Yeah. And of course, the air traffic controller, too, another big issue. In the meantime, the video you've been looking at on the left is a federal worker who is really making lemonade, when life hands him lemons, okay? You may have seen this story go viral over the weekend. He is using his time off to live out his lifelong dream of opening a hot dog cart. His story went viral over the weekend. Like I said, his name is Isaac Stein. His stand called Shysters. And tonight, he is joining us live
Goodness.
to talk all about this passion project, how it came about, and much more. Isaac, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the Live Zone.
Tony and Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you for your patience as
Yes.
well. I know we've been juggling a lot of stuff.
Right.
Still in the bottom corner of the screen, if you guys are just tuning in, is that police chase, that pursuit that's happening out in Los Angeles. But Isaac, start with where this idea came from. This is something you wanted to do for a while, and you actually started the process before the shutdown began, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to try to give the medium length version because I know we don't have tons of time. But the origin
Isaac,
of the
we got it.
project really goes back.
45 minutes, buddy.
Please, we want to hear every bit of this. Please tell us.
Okay, absolutely. So I grew up in suburban Connecticut, and I was within roughly 40 miles of New York. So I had experience with Manhattan-style hot dog carts, and I always loved them as a slice of Americana. I really love this as part of urban culture and part of the community from a very young age. And I also, of course, love hot dogs. Then when I was in 7th grade, and I'm about 6'6", so I was always enlisted to play basketball. I was never particularly good at basketball, but it was fun. But I'm just qualifying that as a mediocre basketball player. There was an annual event where the knockoff Harlem Globetrotters would play the teachers in the elementary school gym, and at that event in 7th grade, I manned a concession stand, and I had so much fun doing it. Like it was more interesting to me than the game was. And in that moment when I was manning a concession stand I was doing it as much as I could throughout the entire game. I didn't want to give up the shift. Like the other boys wanted to watch the game, and I really didn't. I wanted to sell chips and soda because I could connect with everyone. I really felt like I was integrated in the community, and it was just tons of fun to hear about people's lives and to just catch up with people. I knew that at some point in my life I wanted to do that again. So I decided to, and then I had been kicking around this idea for a couple of years, like a couple years prior to now. And then in June, I made the final business decision. I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. Let's just see what happens. And I've tried to just go all out with my attempt at humor, and my goal is to just bring a laugh and smile to people. And what's as you've shown in the clips before, it's clearly it is obviously a very tough time for many people. So if I can bring some comic relief to one person a day, that makes me very happy.
Let me ask you this, and just first of all, I am so inspired by this. I love your story. I'm a big hot dog fan myself, and I heard this. I'm like, yes, I'm so glad you're coming on, because what I really want to know is.
He's not kidding.
I do love hot dogs, and I do hot dog reviews, so I'm definitely going to come down and see you because I want to see how good they are. I can just tell they're excellent. But beyond that, so when you're doing this and you see fellow federal employees come down and be a part of it, like what are you sensing from your fellow federal workers in terms of how they're feeling at this moment, and how are they holding on to hope during these difficult times and trying to find comic relief in wonderful things like you're doing?
Well, I've seen many of my coworkers and other federal workers come to my stand, and people are finding many creative ways to keep occupied during the shutdown. But I think I can't speak for them. I can only speak from my own experience. But a unifying theme that I've noticed is that people very much are very passionate. People who get into government are very passionate about the work and service that they do for the American people, and people just really want to get back to work, as do I.
Right.
This was intended as a weekend project, but it's since become a pretty full-time job. But as soon as I get the chance to go back to work, meaning my office job, I intend to.
Isaac, let me ask you, what do you make of all the attention you have gotten? Because you have made headlines all across the country with this hot dog stand, obviously here in the DC region as well. And like, what do people say to you when they come up to order a hot dog, besides that you have some interesting taste about what is a correct hot dog and what is an incorrect hot dog?
I think people are at this point, it's emotional. I mean, people are looking for connection, and they're I mean, I'm the kind of guy who reads Amtrak Reddit at 2 a.m, so my taste might not be necessarily normal, but I do in my preferences in literature, yes. But I'm very interested in the decline of third spaces in urban life. I mean, it used to be that coffee shops were and saloons were big things in American life, where people could convene, talk about the issues of the day, and just generally hang out. And so I think, to answer your question, I think people are very happy that, and it's doing what I intended it to do, way more than I could have possibly expected, that people are very happy that there's something in the community where they can just hang out and chat with people in real life. Online spaces are wonderful, and in all the ways in that they exist. At the same time, I think people also really want in-person connection, and that's what I'm trying to provide.
I absolutely adore that philosophy. As someone, again, who went viral on social media, my friend, we have made the right person go viral, because you are doing a wonderful thing, not just for our media environment, I think, but just for our social cohesion. Now, just to go a little further on that, so again, the shutdown at some point hopefully will end, and you will go back to that, to your work and your passion. Do you sense this becoming a movement for you, potentially being not just a side hustle, potentially to do it on the weekends, but could this be something that you talk about that is, a Substack, or becomes a social media thing where you talk about this mission, as well as, will there be a potential philanthropic piece to this as well? I'm so fascinated by, what you're doing with this.
Yeah, so I'm the past couple days, it's been I've attempted to again, my attempt at humor. I have attempted to coin the phrase "the Scheissgeist" to describe what I feel is occurring.
Yes, yeah, it's brilliant.
At this point, I'm not even sure exactly where it's going, but I do. I've had a little bit of time to reflect, and philanthropic aims are exactly what I'm thinking about. I think that there is a great moment of need, and I very much to the extent that I have this platform now, I very much want to do absolutely everything that I can to help. So up until roughly, this would have been 36 hours ago, I was doing literally this whole operation myself. All the social media posts, all of the cleaning the cart, all of the inventory control, like every step was just me, because so I was doing literally everything. Since that time, I now have an acting agent who was the guy who made the he's in New York. He made the movie, the film for the reel for Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And then a couple other advisors. Like, these guys are just these are just my close friends who are helping me out. But exactly. So to answer your question, yes, philanthropy is exactly where I want this to go. I'm hammering out the details in real time. So I'll have a better answer for you by this weekend. But the short answer is yes.
That is fantastic. Again, like, as someone who's in social media, you're using it. I mean, you're using it in the right way. And if there's anything I can ever do, like not just tonight, but beyond, please do not hesitate, because we need this. This is the culture. Like, people like you are why I love DC. So I just think this is so brilliant what you're doing.
Isaac, before we let you go, let everyone know where they can come
I
find
should
you,
ask
where
that.
they can come try a Shyster's dog. And also, just final word, share a message to other people who may be in a similar situation about whether taking a risk or just kind of making the best in a bad situation.
Right.
Absolutely. So to the first question, I'm at the intersection of First Street and M Street Northeast in Noma, which is right off the red line, and at the Noma Gallaudet University stop, and I'm right next to a Harris Teeter grocery store. So that's where I'm at. To all the furloughed feds out there, please, I salute you all. I appreciate everything that you're doing, and please keep your head up and keep fighting.
I love it. Again, Isaac, just a true inspiration to so many, and just, again, I'm looking forward to getting down there to see the hot dogs. They look so good. Like, I mean, you're an artist, my friend. I have to say,
the expert.
Kind of a final little question. Like, overall, like, you're eating a hot dog. What's your favorite style? Do you like the Chicago dog with everything on it?
Oh yeah,
And biggest question: is ketchup acceptable?
We're having a
Oh, there we go. We
Uh,
good.
and
Good. Sorry.
We're good.
Oh,
and then please remind me, what was the second part?
Oh,
of your
sorry.
question?
The second part of the question was, is ketchup as a hot dog topping independently by itself acceptable for a grown person over the age of 5? Or do I have to have it with something else?
I mean, I don't want the ketchup lobby to come after me, but yeah, I would say I absolutely think that ketchup is an acceptable topping, which is why I allow it, and I commercially it's required to be commercially viable.
Right.
At the same time, it is not my preferred style.
Okay.
However, I really want everyone to feel welcome, so there's no actual judgment. And not on behalf of any agency, but on behalf of myself, I've been waiving the 10% tax on ketchup as of late.
All right. A very kind
Well,
man.
you're so
Ketchup,
smooth with that.
Not my thing. Have an RC Cola
done.
for us, though.
Yes, please.
Isaac Stein, thank you so much for spending some time with us
Cheers
tonight.
to you, my friend. You're incredible.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
All right, well, we'll go from one live thing to the next. You see that small box at the corner of the screen while we were talking to Isaac. This is President Trump getting set to meet with President Xi. This is happening in South Korea, and a lot on the agenda, and a very closely watched meeting. We are talking tariffs, we are talking TikTok, and more, Tony P.
So much. I mean, again, this is coming off a very expansive week-long trip for the president. Of course, starting with the Japanese prime minister, who's, of course, newly elected, trying to figure out that coalition and the $550 billion pool of investment money on top of this recent deal that was struck this week with South Korea for about $350 billion on top of that. So, with all that being considered, there's a lot of the rebuilding of this trilateral alliance in Asia going into this meeting, and I think the president's going to use this as a solid posture for him as he negotiates, tries to figure out, can we end this volatile back and forth with the tariffs, especially when it comes to the soybean issue, because that is a major hole for the president. Again, a lot of it's part of the bailout money, about $10-15 billion that he wants to bail out the farmers because of the sudden loss in soybean production and funding from these tariff wars in China saying, you know, we're not going to even buy soybeans in retaliation. So if he can stop the retaliation here and can get us back to equilibrium, that'd be a big victory for the president. Also, this TikTok deal. What does it look like from the overall parent company side? Who gets the algorithm access? How does China's relationship with the algorithm impact things? Is it a big deal in the U.S. when it comes to the data sharing? How does that happen with the TikTok deal? Still being worked out and finalized as we speak. But this is a major meeting for this president. Again, a year of a lot of meetings. You think about meeting with President Putin on U.S. soil in Alaska, and now going over to South Korea to meet with President Xi. The president does not want this to be the last meeting in the coming months. He actually wants to go to China next year is the hope. So he can meet with the president and see if there can be further negotiations and just an establishment of better relations. Because the president, when he looks at these relationships, he wants to form a personal connection. That's kind of his brand as a businessman. And he doesn't look at this as being a personal vendetta or back and forth. It's a transaction to him. So that transactional nature from the president, we're going to see if it works.
Tony, this has been, Politico called this the trip of deals, deals, deals for the president, basically saying that he has had some success. I know we didn't get to your rundown, what you are watching tonight, but the deal that came through with South Korea was on your list. Can you talk to us just a little bit about that?
It was. So, when looking at this deal, and again, it's a large pool of money. Again, we just saw Japan with over almost $600 billion. Now we're coming with $350 billion over the next decade from South Korea into the U.S. Now, this is going to contain a lot of items. For example, shipbuilding. Chip-based manufacturing as well for AI and for quantum computing. We're hearing a lot of items from the GTC conference this week here in D.C. about quantum computing. NVIDIA is going to build many supercomputers for the U.S. military. That will probably be a part of this with the AI chip manufacturing. Clean energy projects are still a part of this, especially the nuclear side, because again, there's still in the U.S., the posture for clean energy is still evolving as we speak. But overall, from whether it be shipbuilding to chip making, all these components, it is all about strengthening U.S. industrial ties. Can there be projects brought to the U.S. from this pool of money? Again, the goal is for this president and for this deal overall is to get as much of that $350 billion made here in the United States by American workers. That is his main platform, and it's also about really restricting China in the Pacific in terms of influence, especially as the U.S. tries to figure out what India's relationship is with China, with Russia, and with us as well, because India is a little bit more of a neutral partner. So the goal here, strengthen those relationships with South Korea and Japan, and that's the beginning here to counter some of the tariff issues with China. So this deal with South Korea today is very important because it ties a lot of industries together. And don't forget, there are a lot of car manufacturers from South Korea that have plants, assembly plants here in the U.S. We see it in South Carolina a lot. So that relationship is still decently strong and is evolving. But this is a major escalation in a good way today for the president. If I'm his team, I'm viewing this as a pretty big win.
All right. Well, we are going to keep that live picture up. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to keep that live picture up. We're going to stay watching this in the bottom corner of the screen as well. You see that police pursuit continuing out in California, expecting to see the president any minute now. From there, leaving for the meeting. Like I said, we're going to keep an eye on all of this over the next 20 minutes or so. In the meantime, when we come back from our break, we are going to shift gears a little bit.
Oh boy.
We started this show talking about Tony P running the high heel race. Coming up next,
tonight.
we are going to talk to the organizers of one of the DC Taco Bell 50K, 30 plus miles, and that's just the beginning. So hang tight. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Live Zone Primetime here on this Wednesday night. Producer Chris, Tony P, bottom corner of the screen. That's the president arriving for his meeting with the president of China. Next to us in this box, Tony, you see Taco Bell 50K. You did the high heel race last night. Maybe that was just warming up for this next event.
This sounds
you
very
may have
fascinating.
seen this one on social media as well. A lot of people sharing it. It's an ultra marathon crossed with a Taco Bell eating challenge. 31 miles, 9 different Taco Bells all across the DMV. Michael Wardian is a professional ultra marathon runner. He is also the brains behind this local event, and tonight he joins us live as well to talk all about the inspiration behind it, the madness behind it. I'm not even sure what to call this.
It's Michael, a mix of both, I think.
Thank you so much for joining us. And are you a glutton for punishment? Let me just start there.
Yeah, man, I'm so happy to be on, and yeah, I think we have over 400 people that are also gluttons for punishment. So we're hoping that we can keep growing the race. It's going to be a good time. Hopefully, bring the community together and get to do a lot of running and a lot of taco eating.
Now let me ask you this: so, like, where was the inspiration for the actual Taco Bell pieces? Like, was it a love of protein and how it helps with running? Like, is it actually effective? I'm not a marathon runner, but was it more just kind of a random thing? Like, how did this all come together in terms of format and choosing Taco Bell as the way to go here?
Well, we saw it actually, like, there was a race in Denver that some of my friends have done before, and one of my pacers for a 100-miler I was doing out in Colorado told me about. So, like, we had seen it out there, and then, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a correlation between fueling yourself and running long distances, and so it seems like a natural way to combine the two things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we were like, oh, that looks like really fun way to spend. You have 11 hours to finish, so you don't have to go super fast. But we're expecting some people to be a little over 4 hours, and then you can take as long as 11 hours to try to do the eating and the running, which can be more difficult.
Right.
Break down some of the rules for us, because it's not just 31 miles. It's not just 9 Taco Bells. There are also specific things you have to eat and specific things you cannot do.
That's true. Yeah. So there's you gotta like, so our rules, you gotta go to all 9 Taco Bells. You gotta eat something at each Taco Bell. Drinks do not count. So no drinks. You can have sides, which is kind of cool. You must eat by the 4th stop. You gotta eat at least a Chalupa Supreme or 1 Crunchwrap Supreme. And like, I'm vegan, so like there are dietary restrictions like are accepted. Mm-hmm. So like that was one thing I was a little worried about when we were setting this up. And by the 8th stop, you got to eat a Burrito Supreme or 1 Nacho Bell Grande. And so you can't just only eat like the cinnamon twists or the loaded fries or something.
Some shredded lettuce.
It's not gonna count.
Exactly. Or a bowl or something.
So, my goodness.
You got to have some calories. We haven't, and we're like reserving the right to add like stupid rules as the race gets closer.
As one should. Michael, let me ask you.
You can add rules in the interim. Oh my god.
The only rule is there is no rule. How do you train for something like this? Let's pretend I'm not Michael Wardian, who does this, on the regular. This man just ran the Marine Corps Marathon, which we'll get to in a second.
That's what I was going to ask.
Which we'll get to in a second, because you also did it wearing Tevas. But if you're me and you haven't run 31 miles, let alone stopped at 9 Taco Bells in one day, how do you train for this?
Well, I would say, like, it's completely free. So, like, that's the other thing I should say. Like, it's a completely free race. Not associated with Taco Bell. No one's trying to make money. We just want people to come out and have a good time. So it should be pretty easy to train because you have 11 hours. So like you could just walk to all the Taco Bell. So you could spend the whole day walking, and if you just average like 3 miles an hour, so 20-minute miles, you could still get it done. So there's that. So, I don't think you need to be, super fit going and doing mile repeats on the track or anything. And then it's just about consuming the calories, right? And then so I would say just finding something that you can eat while you can run. We're recommending keeping it very, bland, maybe not going for the Diablo sauce.
That was my next question.
Yeah, you got to keep it down and in at the same time.
Yeah, and so that's one of the rules too. Like, there's, if you can't keep it down, then you're out of the race, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah.
And then no on-course Pepto, Alka-Seltzer, Pepsid, Mylanta. So you
can't have any help.
Yeah. That's what they call raw dogging.
I mean, this is part brilliant, part cruel. Now let me ask you this. So, as you look to the future for the event, again, we were talking about creating third places and opportunities to really come together as a community, right? Just, people having fun. Now, how do you see the growth of this event potentially? Do you see potentially someday partnering with Taco Bell, doing kind of a charity thing behind this, or maybe expanding it, to more per year, or making this, a national idea? Because it's really cool, and at social media, this could go viral across the country. So,
it has.
How do you see it going? How do you see it growing and really, keep expanding as the years go on?
I hope so. We're talking to Achilles DC, so we are going to, offer people the chance, if they are so inclined, to make a donation if they had a good time, or if they just feel so inclined. So, yeah, we want to definitely try to use it as a vehicle to do some good through the running. But mostly, the coolest part about it is we just want people to come together and have fun, and that's what we're looking to promote. And yeah, I agree. I think it could grow because it's low cost to entry, low barrier, fun, a good challenge, and it's a good way to be out doing something that you're not normally doing. So I think all those things.
Michael, we have very different definitions of fun, my friends.
He's
very different
been smiling this whole interview.
Listen, I'll tell you, the closest thing I ever did to this, was I did the Kentucky Hut on the drive out to South Bend, Indiana from Philadelphia, which was basically I just ate at a Kentucky Fried Chicken, a Taco Bell, and a Pizza Hut, and my whole weekend was ruined. My whole weekend was ruined. All right, but that's a little TMI. Listen, I do want to ask, because you're wearing the shirt, the Marine Corps Marathon in the Tevas, you ran it in sandals. I believe you're sponsored by Teva. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's Beautiful. Everyone says Teva, but it's actually Teva. So,
oh,
yeah.
Well, we learned something else.
We learned on the show here.
You learn something every day, right? But yeah, I ran in the Teva Aventrail R2Ts, which are like a running sandal. So that's definitely something that I've really enjoyed. I've been a Teva athlete for a little bit over a year now, and it's been fun to see how much they've progressed. From when I first started with the Teva team to now, and it's been fun to get them out in front of people, and you wouldn't believe how many people are just trying to beat the guy wearing sandals.
That is incredible. Now, let me ask you, I just saw that too. Let me ask you, you're so passionate about marathon running and this craft, right? So, tell me a little bit about your story, how you got involved with marathon running, where did the passion come from, and if you have any advice for people that are trying to get into it and want to learn more, how should they get started?
I got into it. I just wanted to run the Boston Marathon once, and that was 1995. I was at my friend Vince Boyson's house. His mom had just run the Boston Marathon, Vicky Boyson, and that's literally the moment that changed my life. It was a seminal moment in my life. I decided to run Boston. Didn't know you had to qualify. Actually did my first Marine Corps marathon in 1996. Ran a 3-hour and I think 6-minute marathon, which was at the time enough to get me a spot in Boston, and then got hooked and have been a runner ever since. And luckily been able to do it as a profession for over 25 years now, and been on all 7 continents, been all around the world. Yeah, it's been an amazing vocation and amazing way to, like, I don't know, grow up, especially coming from like a guy that was like just a lacrosse player.
Oh, no way.
I played lacrosse at Oakton High School here in the DMV, and then went away to Michigan State, played lacrosse there.
No way.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
It was great.
That's really, because it is one of the things that I love is the lacrosse stuff. I do a little bit of broadcasting for PLL and Paul Rabel's leagues. I love lacrosse and all of that.
He's the best, dude. He's really grown that.
He took a risk when he did it. So I've done some content for them over the last few years, and I adore them. Him and Mike, his brother, really changed the game. But in terms of, like, having this athletic background and going into the marathon as a craft, what would be your advice for anybody that wants to pursue it similarly to you and really, chart a path in this space?
I mean, I think for me, what I did was there's so many great local running stores. You got Pacers, you got Potomac River Running. So there's like a lot of resources. Like, one of the first things I did was go and get some real shoes or sandals, and get kitted out, and then was able to lock in with one of the running groups. Like, we have so many around the DC area, so just finding people that knew what they were doing was a great thing. But the nice thing about running is you can do it, anywhere, and start, very, very quickly and easily, and there's not a very high bar to entry. So, like, that's what I think is so great about it. And then now with social media, there's, plenty of people you can follow. Like, I'm always posting my workouts and runs and events on there. And then, if you're at the point where you're not quite sure what to do, there's plenty of online coaches like I do it. There's, plenty of other people that do it, and they can get you kind of started. But I'd say the biggest thing is just, pick something. Like, it doesn't have to be the Taco Bell 50K, although, it is free.
Best start.
You could come out and just see how far you get, and maybe this year you get to 3 Taco Bells, and next year you get to all 9. But you just got to pick something that you're passionate about, and then just start going out. And it's just like anything. Start a little bit slow, and there's a thing where you can kind of run 5 minutes, walk 2 minutes. If you're just coming from like no fitness background. Yeah. But it's pretty easy to get started, and there's plenty of programs and lots of resources out there. But the biggest thing is just getting started.
Michael, before we let you go, 2 quick things. Tell everyone how they can follow your adventures or how they can register for this event. And then 2, please issue a public shout out, throwdown to Steve Shenevy, who did just run the Marine Corps Marathon this weekend, did his best time with the least amount of training that he had ever done. And I think he should do the Taco Bell 50K next.
I would pay to watch that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Steve, come on out. Yeah, we're trying to get the guys from Dude Perfect also. Like, supposedly one of the guys from Dude Perfect thinks he's going to win, and I can't wait to show him that that's not going to happen. So
maybe Paul Rabel, too. I'll call Paul up, see if he comes down.
Yeah, that would be awesome, dude. Yeah, we could do a little street lacrosse before it starts.
Or that could be the next idea. It could be you could street lacrosse, then you go to the Taco Bell, then you do some running.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so I'm on all the social channels, so that's just at Mike Wardian, MikeWard, like dog, IAN like Nancy. And then we have a website. My buddy Phil Hargis deserves a huge shout out. He's one of the fellow organizers and kind of the brains behind the operation. And so we have the Taco Bell DC50K.com, so people can see like all the rules, and it's just it's just a Google form, and literally like it's completely free. Everyone's welcome. You don't have to do the whole thing, although you don't get a finisher's surprise if you don't finish. But yeah,
I think people are going to be in store for a surprise. No matter what.
There might be a few.
No matter what, when they give this a shot.
Some
Michael,
viral moments could be happening.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight here on the Live Zone Primetime.
Thank you. You're awesome.
Yeah, man. Thanks, guys.
All right. Good luck. Hopefully, we'll talk to you again maybe afterwards and see how it all went.
Right, and we got to make sure Steve comes out.
That's right. All right, I'm going to clip that, and I'm going to post it, and I'm going to tag him in it. Michael, have a
We're
great
going to shame him.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right. Before we head to break, we are going to take you back out to South Korea. This is where President Trump getting ready for his meeting with the president of China. We're going to leave this live picture up. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, we're back on the Live Zone Primetime. You see the live bug right there. We are down to the final 5 minutes or so in the show. I want to get to Tony with what he's been watching all night.
Absolutely.
Get to it.
Yes, we're doing it towards the back end of the show tonight, folks. So good evening to all of you. And our first story is the government shutdown, of course. It is stretched into day 29, and the strain is starting to show, of course. The CBO estimates the standoff could cost the economy up to $14 billion this quarter as federal workers remain unpaid and contractors and small businesses tied to government work begin to tighten their belts as well as not receive payments. That is from the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, a nonpartisan organization. At the Federal Reserve, another cautious move today. The Fed cut rates again, lowering its benchmark by about 0.25% again to 3.9% to cushion the slowdown. Chair Jerome Powell said the decision was meant to steady momentum, but warned another cut in December isn't guaranteed, even though problems with the job market right now are pushing for more cuts. Wall Street ended up mixed today. The Nasdaq hit record highs on a new wave of AI optimism, while the Dow slipped a little slightly. The headline of the day, though, NVIDIA crossed the $5 trillion mark, becoming the first U.S. company ever to do so, a stunning milestone for the AI economy. Entertainment tonight, Bonham's Uncanny Auction is turning heads, showcasing surreal and nostalgic props from decades of pop culture history, from horror films to sci-fi classics. Some really cool stuff for all you nostalgic folks out there. Online, two stories are driving the digital conversation today. A New Yorker report examining how smartphones and social media are being used to record and challenge immigration enforcement are being talked about today, and a viral moment from Dallas where stranded travelers broke into Don't Stop Believin'. The airport sing-along now has ranked up about 40 million views in 24 hours. Incredible stuff there. And tonight, major new details in the Mafia-linked gambling scandal. I've been following this all week, shaking professional basketball. Federal filings reveal members of the Gambino and Lucchese crime families allegedly rigged high-stakes poker games using marked cards and wireless devices, laundering betting profits through the athletes themselves. Investigators say former NBA players were used to lend legitimacy to the games, and one active player, Terry Rozier, is now tied to an $8 million IRS lien filed around the same time the scheme peaked. The FBI probe has widened to include multiple teams, deepening concerns about organized crime's reach into sports. And finally, a small but powerful rescue story out of San Francisco tonight. Firefighters rappelled down a coastal cliff to save a golden retriever stranded on a ledge. The dog wagged its tail the whole way up and is safely back home tonight. Proof that not all news needs to be controversial or really energizing. And just be wholesome and pure.
Yeah, that listen, people love animal stories.
They do.
If you learn one thing about TV news and working in it, you can never go wrong.
Right, you know, it's a little purity of the heart is good, folks,
animals.
You know?
Tony, in the meantime, I want to spend the just last final minute or so of this show talking about the Love is Blind Season 9 reunion. It premiered right at 9 o'clock, which means people have now had 57 minutes to tune in and leave their opinions. I cannot wait to watch this weekend. Friday night, these are my plans the second I get home.
Wow.
Because I cannot wait to find out what is going on with this group of people, because this was the first season. There have been 9 of them. This is the first season that no one actually walked down the aisle.
Right.
Well, let me backtrack. 2 couples walked down the aisle. No one said yes.
Yeah,
well,
right.
No one got married. Let's put it that way.
Didn't pan out.
It did not pan out. I'm so fascinated to see what's going to happen, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of the internet out there thinks about it. In the meantime, we are keeping that live look from where President Trump and the President of China are set to meet any minute. We have seen them both arrive. We will have much more on that coming up tonight on Fox 5 News at 10 and 11, and of course tomorrow as well. You can hear that Netflix sound in the background. Tony P, another busy night for us.
I mean, this is a major development. These next few hours, this will be a big test for the president. He's had a solid streak with international victories, especially with Israel-Gaza, but that is a little bit on shaky grounds. He's trying to shore up, this trilateral alliance in Asia. If he can not only get us back to less volatility in the markets, but get us some extra add-ons, with the Chinese president, this could be a really big victory for the president, or it could be an embarrassment for President Trump, depending on how these meetings go. Not just the frameworks agreed to, but what does that framework mean in practice? That's going to be the biggest thing.
Down to our final 30 seconds. Also, if you're keeping score for the World Series, right now the Toronto Blue Jays lead 3-1. End of the 6th inning. That's airing live on Fox 5 right now. The series tied 2-2.
Yep.
If Toronto wins tonight, they take the series lead 3-2. They head back to Toronto for Game 6, I want to say.
Game 6, yeah. There's 3 in LA.
In the meantime, Fox Local coming up next. Fox 5 News at 10 for Tony P. I'm producer Chris. Thank you so much for joining us.